I'm not going to say anything scintillating because there's too many good speakers. I'm Julie Learson. I'm the director for the Jordan New Life Hub. I will tell you a little bit about, I know Paul through, well, Kevin introduced us several years ago. I think because he thought we had similar styles of leadership. Is that right? Which means an open door policy and, you know, reaching in your pocket for the money and all that fun stuff. So I think it's a wonderful program. It's absolutely the best chemical dependency program in North Minneapolis. Yes, keep it around for that.
Hello, Alderman Zeros. If I haven't formally met you, I apologize for that. I just got here, I was a little late, just came from school. I'm an alumni of CTSI, and I figured that, you know, the best way to represent CTSI would probably be to tell one of our stories personally, to let somebody know, you know, just exactly it is, where we're coming from, and the adversity we faced throughout the change that we did make. I'm a resident, long-time resident of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota. I grew up in the country area, but I later moved on to the cities. As I grew older, both my parents were chemically dependent. I had a lot of chemical dependency in my family, but at the time I was too young to understand just that was. So when I moved to the cities, I felt like, you know, I had everything ahead of me. Well, when I moved to the cities, it turned out it wasn't that way. I had moved in with my mother, and upon moving in with my mother, she struggled with a heroin addiction. And I wasn't aware of that at the time. So, you know, upon moving in with her, I learned the traits, I learned the ways of the streets, and like any eager child that wanted to please his parents, you know, just what I did is I took to the streets. You know, I wanted to please my mother, I wanted to please my father, and I felt like the only way to do that was to become, you know, the most street-hardened person that I could become. Well, you know, after several penitentiary stints, felonies, chemical dependency struggles, depression problems, and you know, just a mountain of adversity that I had faced throughout my life, I had come to realize that what I was doing wasn't going to put me where I wanted to be. I lost all the relationships I had with people I cared for. Nobody was willing to reach out for me no more. So, you know, the life that I had grew up knowing, where I had such this tight-knit family, had dispersed because I decided to take to the streets. The first time I went to the penitentiary, I had went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And when I went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I had went there, and what I was doing at the time is I was selling drugs. I was selling crack cocaine. And when I went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I had got connected with some other people that were in the streets, got led astray. I was young, and that's how it goes in the streets. You know, the older take to the younger, and, you know, they show them about how to go. Well, I was misinformed by some misinformed people. I ended up getting caught in the car with some other individuals, and I got 2 years out of it. The drugs that were in the car were not mine, but I was just as equally guilty because I did condone what was going on at that time. I did the 2 years, I got out, and I decided that I still wanted to continue to sell drugs again. I still wanted to continue that lifestyle. I still wanted to, you know, find some way to, you know, invest in myself through the streets by way. And eventually I caught another conviction. I caught another sales conviction. I was gangbanging at the time. I was involved in unhealthy relationships, violence, you know, you name it, I was involved in it. I was a thief, I was a liar, I wasn't to be trusted, you know, just, you can go down the list. I had it. I had it all. Well, after I eventually went to the penitentiary, the first time I went in Minnesota, you know, most people would think that you would go and, you know, incarceration would set in, and, you know, this so-called, you know, reform happens, you know, after so many bars and jail cells, reform happens, but it don't. Regularly it's the reverse. You know, you got a lot of young black men in there, young Caucasian males, you know, whatever ethnicity you are, and the older take to the younger, and they teach them how to get wiser in the way of, you know, being a criminal or being hip to the streets. So when I went in there, I initially got initiated into a higher level of criminal behavior. You know, I went from dope dealing now to manipulating my peers, manipulating the system, manipulating myself, And when I got out, I decided I wanted to sell drugs again. Well, within a month of being out, after doing 2 years, I caught another conviction. And when I caught this conviction this time, they gave me an opportunity. I don't know why they gave me the opportunity. But, you know, they told me, they says, we'll give you a chance. And to a criminal, that means, okay, I can get out again. Do what I do again. No bail? Okay, I'll take that. Give me a chance. Well, you got to go to treatment. Treatment? All right, I got that. Don't worry about that. So when I got out, I did the treatment. But the whole time I was faking the funk. And this was at CTSI. Well, my behavior eventually got me another charge. I committed another crime and I got incarcerated again. Well, when I went to jail this time, I went in front of a judge. And when I went in front of the judge, I know the law so well because I broke it so many times that I can tell you what I'm going to get before I go in front of a judge, in front of a lawyer or whatever. I know the guidelines and everything. And when I went in front of the judge, they hit me with the book and there was no guidelines involved. And they told me that in order for me to move on past this case, I would have to do 144 months. And initially, I hadn't done that type of time, but I was so backward in my thinking that I didn't think about how I was going to go about beating the case. I thought about how I was going to go about coping while I was in prison, because in my mind, I had already been convicted, tried, and sentenced. So, because that's what had happened before. But through CTSI, you know, some people that I had met along the way that had faith in me and that believed in me, somebody, you know, found it in them to help me gain legal representation. And through that, I only got 2 years. And when I went and did the 2 years, I was initially going to sell drugs when I got out again. I was, you know. I was too far gone, right? That's what it is, you know, 3-time loser. Okay. So I had went in there and, you know, we're talking and you know, when you're in the penitentiary, you know, you would think that people would be trying to build on something positive and you know, there is some in there. But, you know, then you got the vast majority, you know, that just learns how to talk faster, talk slicker, manipulate people more, you know, in a better way, you know, or whatever you want to call it. And that's what I took to. You know, I was drawn to the criminal crowd once again. But when I was sitting in there, I'm seeing all these men that are far more capable than me in other areas in life that can do things that, you know, that I could not do. That, you know, let's say they were smarter in math than me, but they were far more than capable of being successful.